Hello everyone. This is episode 11 of the Butterfield Alpacas and Fiber Arts Podcast. I am Tashia Butterfield, owner of Butterfield Alpaca Ranch in Nebraska. I'm also a fiber artist. I knit, spin, and crochet, and I love pretty much anything alpaca, so that's what this podcast is about. And you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and RAVELRY. So I looked back in the channel, and it had been over 16 months since I released the last episode of this podcast. And I remember that I stopped because the time dedicated to the podcast was just pretty much overwhelming. I was doing it weekly, and I was doing a lot of segments in different locations, and there was a lot of editing, and it just got to be a bit much on top of everything else. As much as I really enjoyed doing the podcast, it just got to be too much. And one of my previous videos, I kind of described all that going on. But recently, I really kind of had the itch to get back to video making. And actually, all of my videos, the last one I made was in the summer sometime. That was about shearing, which happened quite a few weeks before that video. And they kind of got pretty sporadic. Things were kind of pretty hectic around here. And but now, hey, this is something I wanted to do, and I have a plan now. I have a video posting plan. This podcast is going to be monthly, so I can give you all the segments. I can kind of catch you up on what's going on in my life, fiber arts wise. One of the things that was really hard about doing a weekly podcast is I didn't get very much done in my projects, my knitting crochet projects. Partly because of everything else going on. And I'm just kind of not a fast stitcher anyway. And so I felt like there wasn't a whole lot to show you. Well, if I do a monthly podcast, I'll have things to show you certainly that are finished. And one really big thing that has happened since the last episode is I opened a store, which is where I'm at right now. 5 miles from where the ranch is in Alma, Nebraska, is where I opened a retail store. So behind me is the part that is a yarn shop, and on the other side is an alpaca store with a bunch of alpaca goods. So that happened earlier this summer. As you can imagine, that was a really big thing, and it was a really big push to get it open. And then I've had a few months now to kind of get a feel for how the business works. And I was grateful that I opened it in the summer. It was towards the end of June. And of course, summer being a really slow time for both yarn shops and alpaca goods. But I found it was a really good way to kind of get my feet wet in the whole experience, to kind of, fill the store up with more things as I could. And now we are in fall, going into the holiday season, which is a really big time of year for yarn and alpaca stuff. And then, of course, going into winter, that continues. So now I feel like I'm kind of set for like a busier pace of the year. So that's good. All right, looking over my show notes, I skipped a few things in the beginning. I didn't actually mean to talk about my store so soon, but I'll get back to that in just a bit. But I wanted to let you know that I have started a Cofee page. You might have heard about these already. They're kind of like Patreon, but they're a little different. And the reason I did it is because some people have requested ways to kind of help me out financially with my channel. This channel is kind of one of the few places on YouTube that you can actually get information about alpacas. And some people have been really appreciative about the information, the education that I'm putting out there, and they wanted to contribute to helping the channel continue. So now that I'm kind of doing a restart with the channel, now's a great time that if you are one of those people who appreciate my videos and you'd like to see them continue, I have started the Cofee page, which is where you can go and basically buy a coffee, which is like leaving a tip. And on my end, the benefit is that I don't have to wait a month to receive the funds, and there's no fees taken out. So the money that you contribute, all of it goes directly to me. And my first goal with those funds is to upgrade my filming equipment and my video editing software. both of which are pretty low-key. And especially out at the ranch, I have trouble filming some things because of the wind or ancient filming technology that I'm using. So that would be priority with the Cofee funds. And you can go to, the link is down in the description box if you're interested in going and checking it out. But basically, whenever you feel like it, you just buy a coffee and that will help this channel get better. Also, if you like the videos that I put out and you want to know when new podcast videos come out, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell button so that way you get a direct notification right when a new video is released. And speaking of videos, you may be wondering, if I'm only doing the podcast once a month, what about the rest of the month? I'm still going to be releasing short videos that talk about topics related to alpacas, specifically alpaca ownership, and I'm calling those videos Alpaca Life. So I have so many topics picked out for that. In fact, I did a schedule yesterday with the podcast and all of the topics that I want to do for Alpaca Life. My schedule's full up through April. So yeah, that's pretty fun. It's pretty exciting. Like I said before, that my channel, this is a few places where you can actually get, up-to-date information about alpacas in video form. And I really want to help people who are considering owning alpacas to know what they're getting into and then to be successful at it when they decide that that's really what they want to do. All right, so now let's talk about what's been going on at the ranch. Like I said, it's been quite a while since I've taken you out there on the podcast. So there's a couple of things I wanted to fill you in on. Kind of looking at my notes here. Okay, so first of all, if you remember Roman, Riley, and Rum, they were all born in 2015. They're 3 years old now, so 2015. And they had been in a smaller pasture together that was intended for the boys that weren't mature enough to be with the grown-ups. Well, this past spring, they did graduate over into the big boys pasture. What that is when the boys are young, they don't have the hormones yet or the size to be able to rough play with the grown-up boys. And so I keep them separated until they're ready to do that. And these 3 boys who, were all the same age, got to be put over into that pasture. And that was pretty fun. They had been sharing a fence line with the other guys for 2 years. Rum a little less, but yeah, 2 years. So they knew each other from sniffing across the fence and that kind of thing. So after about 10 minutes of craziness, which boys do when their social structure is changed, then everything was calm and happy, and it's nice to see the boys kind of making other friends. Riley and Thor, something I've noticed with them is they're both very gentle alpacas, and they're both very playful. And so what'll happen, especially, before Riley went over there, Thor, oftentimes he would initiate play with the other boys. And depending on who he was playing with, at some point, the play would escalate into a fight. And Thor isn't interested in fighting. He's just not really, that's not him. And so the other one would want to be fighting, and Thor would, have to let him know in the ways that male alpacas do that he's not interested in fighting. Well, now that Riley is in that group, and both of them are the playful and very gentle-natured boys, they just play. And between the two of them, it never escalates into a full-on fight or even near a fight. If one of them's done playing, then they'll just walk off, and the other one will be like, okay, we're done. And that doesn't happen with all the playful times between the boys. So that's been fun to see that the two of them are matched well together in that way, and they can get all their playfulness out with one another. Now, by moving Rum, Riley, and Roman over to the big boys, I was able to remove the geldings that were in that group and put them in that smaller pasture that I'd used for the boys when they were younger. And that was beneficial because geldings, which means that a male alpaca has been fixed, cannot father any crias, they don't have the hormones that when they are playing and it turns into rough play and it might turn into a fight, they don't have those hormones that help, kind of aid them in fighting back and sticking up for themselves in a sense. And they can oftentimes kind of get picked on. And that was the case with some, like Cowboy, who's also very mild-natured. And so I was able to separate the geldings into the smaller pasture, and I have 3 of those guys. So that's Cowboy, Kino, and Andy. Those are the geldings. And so they're off together, and they're peaceful and quiet, and they have plenty of space. And that leaves a group of 11 over in the mature boys, in which now Roman, who's a llama, has teamed up with Vinny, who's the llama that has been there all along. And so now we have a team of llamas guarding that group of 9 alpacas, the mature male alpacas in that group. And socially, the kind of dynamics have been really nice. I've been very pleased with kind of the way everyone's getting along. So the other thing about Riley and Rum I wanted to mention is I used them for breeding this fall. That was the first time for both of them. Rum did really well. Riley has some things to figure out. I think he did get the job done, but probably in another podcast I'll share some videos about this and talk about breeding some more. But at one point he was trying to play with Lindsay. That's who I was matching him with. And she'd look at him like, what the heck are you doing? And, he didn't always get in the right position, and he kind of had an idea of what to do, but not really. So next year when he gets another chance, I think he'll do better. But that was pretty entertaining. Speaking of babies, I did have one baby born this spring. If you kept up with the channel, you already saw a video of Oliver, which was Bridget's baby, and he was born June 4th, and he shares a birthday with Riley. Fun fact. Now, he's so cute. Bridget's his mom and Vinny is his dad. He is a wonderful blend of the two of them. He mostly takes after his dad, which is what I wanted. I wanted the fiber type that Vinny had. I didn't really care what color it was, but he came out so beautiful. He has predominantly the color of his dad, and certainly his dad's face. Oh my gosh, you look at the two of them, and it's amazing how similar Oliver is. But he got a little extra color from his mom. So there's a bit of marbling on his face, very subtle. Bridget, she had very distinct black-white marbling on her face, and Oliver got a little bit of that, and with rose gray, and just, the colors are different, so that it looks subtle, but he still has it. And then he has what's come out to be a rose gray down the back of his neck and towards the front of his back, kind of like that brown spot, big spot across the top of Bridget's back. He got that, but it came out to be a rose gray because of the way that the colors worked out. And he's so pretty and he's so cute. One unfortunate thing that happened, though, is that when he was 5 weeks old, Bridget passed away. From what, I'm not certain. She was not breathing right that morning, and I took her directly into the vet. She got some things. I don't think the vet quite knew what was going on, and I didn't know what was going on either. The things that I suspected didn't really match up with what I was seeing. So there wasn't sorry, I'm trying to block the light here a little bit. There wasn't, a clear explanation of what was happening. But yeah, she got some shots of some things, and I took her back home, checked on her later on, and she had passed that day. So whatever was going on happened really fast. Still don't know what it is. It's not something that affected anybody else. But that was a rough loss. She was the primary guard for the girls, and I have not been able to find a female llama to fill her spot. I still have Lucy, who is in with the girls, but Lucy is not a guard. She's a llama, but she's not a guard. She thinks she's an alpaca, and she'll kind of follow along with the other llamas, but she is not going to protect them. So I don't trust her to do that job, and I really would like to get one, possibly two more llama girls to put in with my alpaca girls. I just have not found llamas around here yet that kind of fit what I'm looking for. So what else was I going to say? Bridget did give me 3 wonderful boys, and that would be Roman. When I got her, he came at age 1 month, and he's a wonderful guard. Very, it's just very natural for him. He's also very friendly. He loves attention from people, and he loves being petted and like his head being touched and stroked, and like alpacas and llamas don't like their heads being touched at all. And he'll come up and nuzzle you and try to snuggle, and like he wants the attention. And he's really fun. Then we have Gus, who is now 2 years old, and he's the one that I tried 3 times to get him into that young boys group where they share a fence between those 2 groups. So the idea is that when you separate, the male from his mom at weaning time, he shares a fence with his mom on one side, and then he shares a fence with the mature boys on the other side, the boys that eventually he's going to go live with. So I had tried 3 times. I put Gus in that space, and he had gotten back over. He had crossed the fence and gotten back over 3 times. So I had him gelded, younger than I would have liked to, but I said, if you're going to stay with your mom and all these girls, you need to be gelded. So that's what we did, and so he's been with the girls ever since. Since Bridget died, he's kind of become a surrogate parent to Oliver. Naturally, Oliver trusted Gus because Bridget, Oliver knew that there was a special bond there. I don't know if they really understand that they're related, but there was a special bond, and so Gus took on kind of the caretaker role for Oliver, apart from feeding him, which I and a friend of mine do. He gets fed 3 times a day, and so that's what we've been doing for the last number of months. Oh, bottle babies. Anyway, but it's fun to see the dynamic between those 2. Gus, he's also a guard. He really guards, and he's also stepped up to kind of take on the role of guarding the girls. He's still 2 years old, which is too young to be like a full guard. If a predator were to come in and try to confront, Gus would not be successful. He would certainly try, but he's not mature enough to really do that. But he has that instinct, that inclination to do the job, and you see him watching and, taking care of the girls in terms of where he stands and that type of thing out in the pasture. But he certainly has been taken over the role of looking out for Oliver. The 2 of them are like always together. And whenever I feed Oliver, he seeks out Gus and kind of rushes to his side. And at night, when everyone's cushed for the night for sleeping, you'll see the 2 of them next to each other, just like a mom and a baby would be. So that's been fun to see. And I'm glad that Gus was in that group and has been able to take on that role for Oliver. I don't know if any of the other girls would have stepped up and kind of taken him in like that. So the plan is that next spring that I will move Oliver and Gus over into that smaller pasture that is meant for the weaning and growing up until they're mature. And then Gus will stay in that group because he's gelded. And down the road, when Oliver's mature enough, he'll go into the big boy group with his daddy, and that will be really cute. I look forward to seeing the two of them kind of work together and watching Oliver grow because he's so pretty. I really like watching how the animals develop over time, kind of what characteristics they take on, and I like looking at, what attributes they took from each parent. And I've had, a number of babies now that I've been able to see that. So I think that's been fun, and watching Oliver grow up has been fun. He is now 5.5 months old. So December 4th, he will be 6 months, and that's, the time when you wean. And I've already started cutting back the milk that I feed him. So kind of getting him ready to no longer be on the bottle, which would be nice, that I won't have to do it all winter long. Hey, that is what it is. Okay, so that was a lot of explanation about the ranch. I don't think I meant to talk about the ranch that much. But yeah, that's what's been going on out there. Something I didn't mention, I guess I'm not done talking about the ranch, is I got a small tractor. And I wanted to share this with you because it's like my new toy, right? It's this little case tractor. It's a 75 horsepower. So being in a agricultural community, everyone has these really big tractors, and mine is so puny in comparison. But that's okay. It's what I need. I needed a tractor that could move a large round bale. That's the heaviest thing that I have to do out at the ranch, is be able to move and feed those bales. So this tractor does that very well. And I got, of course, the bale spear for that, but a bucket to be able to move stuff around. Myself and my dad have been doing projects out at the ranch. I've gotten stuff done out there that has been on my to-do list since I bought the property. And those things have not gotten done simply because I didn't have the equipment to do it. And now I can. And feeding bales just got so much easier. Prior to this, I was using a bale dolly, and I have a video on that if you want to go back and check that out, of how that works. And that was a good first step. That, if I had nothing else, the bale dolly definitely helped me out. But a tractor is a lot easier. It's a lot quicker. It's more precise. So I've been enjoying doing that, and I got to move all the bales out of the hay field this year. Every year I have someone bale it for me, and in years past, I did use the bale dolly a little bit, but there were some bales that were just too hard to do with the dolly, so they didn't get done, and it was very time consuming. How you load up the bale on a dolly takes a long time. So now that I have the tractor, it's very easy, very quick. And hopefully I can get this video my mom took of me driving the tractor in with the bale when I was stacking up all those bales next to the barn. And then this is the final result of all the bales stacked up there. So that's what I have to feed the alpacas all winter. And then this is a video of me feeding a bale this last week to the girls. So much easier and fun. So I was talking earlier about needing to upgrade my equipment. So I don't have a way to stabilize the video camera while I'm in the tractor. I know what I need to get. I just need to get it. But so I can only get certain things filmed when I'm working on something like the tractor. So yeah, if you go to the Cofee page, you can help contribute to upgrading my equipment, and I can make better videos for you. But yeah, so this is me giving the girls a bale, and then here you're going to see me feeding Oliver. So if you saw the video of when he was born, you can see how little he was, and then here he is at 5.5 months old. I've been so thankful that he's been growing. Now, a bottle baby is not going to do as well as if he had been able to nurse off of Bridget all this time. I don't know if size-wise he would have been bigger, or I don't know if his bones would have been growing better or stronger. I don't really know. But, did the best I could, and he's doing well. Now I'll go back and talk a bit more about my store. This is part of my notes when I actually had planned to talk about the store and, this big endeavor, my goodness. Now, when I very first learned about alpacas, I had already had the desire to have my own yarn shop. And when I was learning about alpacas and I visited alpacas and I had all this knowledge about the fiber arts, and so I had this idea of creating my own line of yarn. And alpacas being a luxury yarn or a luxury fiber, I was like, yep, that's what I want to do. I saw the opportunity. I saw a young industry in the US that I want to be a part of. So that's kind of how all that came about. And opening up this store has been a part of the plan all along. Like, I have a really big vision of what I want to do. And this is just one step within that big plan. So it's a little store. I should measure. I don't even know how many square feet this is. It's not a very big store at all. But I'm in a little town and I really don't need a whole lot of space. Between the amount of traffic I get here, I have space to do lessons. Like, the camera right now is sitting on the table where I do lessons. And on Tuesday nights, the store is open for Stitch and Spin, which is my version of a knit night. So people bring their projects, whatever it is, and hang out and work, kind of learn from each other. And that's been growing as well, especially this fall. The weather changed and people kind of got back into crocheting or whatever they were doing. And I call it Stitch and Spin because it covers the three things that I focus on in the yarn shop, which is knitting, crochet, and spinning. Kind of new to spinning. I'll get to that in a little bit too. But in thinking about what I wanted to carry in my store, I'd already been on this thinking with alpaca of focusing on American alpaca, since that's the industry that I'm a part of. And it's a young industry, and for those of you who know me, I like things that are new or just starting. That's the kind of stuff I'm drawn to. I like building things. I like being a part of things that are new or being built. So being a part of the alpaca industry fits me very well. Starting an alpaca channel on YouTube when there isn't others, fits me very well too. So in thinking of what yarns I wanted to carry, besides American alpaca, obviously wool, and I wanted to stick with American wool as well, so that the fibers that I carry are from America. Even the cotton blends, I wanted to, as best I could, make sure things were sourced and created in America. So I just wanted to share with you the brands that I have chosen to carry. And I have this sign up in my store, just kind of a summary. Oh, you see my lighting? So American Grown and Made, that's like what I'm trying to stick with the store. Over here, this is Imperial Yarn. They are out of Oregon, and that's a very interesting company. Go ahead and look them up because kind of messing with my lighting here. Imperial Yarn was one brand I knew I wanted to carry because I knew it was American alpaca, and all the wool that they source is U.S. wool. And you can go on their website and learn more about their story and all that stuff. Then I have the Shepherd's Mill, which is the mill that I use to process my own fiber. They are about a 20-minute drive from the store where I'm sitting right now. Family-run business, and they're one of the premier fiber mills in the U.S., especially when it comes to processing alpaca. starting last year in the fall, so that's 2017, they released their own line of yarn to be sold in local yarn stores. So some of what I carry, let's see, here's some. I have some scattered throughout here because it's organized by yarn weight, so it's kind of throughout. But yes, so you can go to their website, you can read a little bit more about them as well, follow them on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. Then I have Brown Sheep Company. For those of you who don't know, it is a Nebraska company. I've yet to go there because it's not really close to me. It's out in the Panhandle, and I'm in southern south part of the state. And so I chose them because, yeah, I wanted a wool company, and they're in Nebraska. And they source their wool from the U.S. And you can read on their labels which lines, say U.S., blah, blah, blah. I don't know if all of the lines are U.S. wool only, but the ones that I've chosen to carry in my store are. All right, I had to go move my sunblock. The thing about my store, it has large windows across the front, which I love. I love the brightness. I love the sun that gets to come in. But this time of year, it's November, mid-November now, and the sun is pretty low. We're about a month away from the shortest day of the year. And the sun is low, and the top windows on the front of the store, the sun is coming through and hitting me in my face when I'm trying to do this video. So I have a block, something blocking that light. Oh, if you only knew all the trouble I went to try and figure out how to set this up in here because of the doggone sunlight. Anyway, I am very grateful for the sunlight. Do not get me wrong. I'd prefer it be sunny than cloudy. Okay, and then besides my own yarn, which I do have a few of, which I have some hanging right here. This is Kino's yarn that you can get on the website as well. Meadow Mountain Wool is the other brand that I'm carrying, also an American company. They are out of Wyoming. They have a very interesting story. You can read that on their website as well, about where they source all of their fibers. For them, they list on their website what farms all of the fiber comes from. And you can trace from the farm to yarn where it all goes. So what yarn you buy, you will know what farm it actually came from. And if you want to stay up to date with what's going on in the store and, of course, the ranch, be sure to like the Facebook page. The link is down in the description box. And also get on my mailing list. I am now sending out at least monthly newsletters. I'm not quite sure. I've had a mailing list for quite a while, but I've only recently started sending stuff out. And but that is one of the best places to be notified about all that's going on here, because there's always stuff going on. All right, so now let's get into the fiber art stuff. And what has happened this spring is I've really gotten into spinning. I got a spinning wheel. This little lady right here is my Shack Ladybug. And I'm a Shack dealer, so if you are wanting a Shack spinning wheel or a weaving loom, contact me. I can help you out. But since I became a Shack dealer, I have the opportunity to buy a wheel. Now this wheel belongs to the store. It is not mine, but I get to use it. So I have been learning how to spin. I did start on a drop spindle a year ago. Spring 2017, because I went to the Mid-Plains Fiber Fair and I bought a drop spindle from Kelsey of Spindle, Shuttle, and Needle. I got this little kit. Actually, this is still it. This is what it was. 4 ounces of undyed wool roving, and a drop spindle. So this is what I learned on. And I haven't used it in a while, but this is specifically an Ashford drop spindle, so that's what I learned on. So I did practice this for a while, and I had picked it up again like late winter, early spring, and had really gotten good at it, and had gotten pretty thin in the yarn that I was able to spin. And so I was excited when I got this spinning wheel because I could create more yarn faster. Like, that was the main thing I wanted to do. I wanted it to be faster and like create something at a faster pace. So I wanted to share with you some of the things that I've made. Okay, so the yarns that I've done, I have not washed them yet. So they're not really finished, but here you go. This was the first skein that I did on the wheel. It's a 2-ply, and you can see it's thick and thin. If I can find the information on what yarn what fiber it is, I'll put it here on the screen. I know I got it from Spindle, Shuttle, and Needle from Kelsey. Again, I wanted something colorful because I'd only been working with that white wool, undyed wool, and so this was the first dyed wool that I worked with. Oh, I'll show you right here, a really big blow up right there with the second ply. So like I said, I haven't washed it yet, so it'll be interesting to see, how it's going to change. But I'm looking at, here's some nice ones and some really uneven ones. But hey, it's my first skein. I like it. I had this sitting on my counter, my checkout counter at the store, and someone wanted to buy it. I was like, no. But it kind of gave me hope that I could sell my spun fiber, maybe. But it was the colors and stuff that they really liked. But I was like, no, this was my first one. I can't sell it. I'm sorry. I can't. Okay, so what order did I do things in? The next project I did is I wanted to dye some fiber. So my first... Maybe that came after this. This was the next one I did. And I used fiber that I have here in the store. I do have Alpaca and Alpaca blend, comb top and roving. And this one, let's see, the lighter color. How do I describe? The two things I used was a light rose gray, like comb top. So that's 1 ply. And then the other ply was 100% alpaca roving that has these 3 colors. In this case, it was brown, fawn, and white, the natural colors of the alpaca together. And so that was the second ply. Of course, I plied them together and I got this. So this is a 75% alpaca, 25% merino wool, I believe it is. And of course, spinning this was very different from spinning this. This is a Colombian Rambouillet blend. And of course, the handle of these two are very different. But owning alpacas, I needed to try alpaca. And I like it. It's a big adjustment, I think, from the wool, especially since it was my first time. And I was still so new to spinning that, yeah, it took me a little while, but it's so squishy. It's so soft. But again, it's not washed yet. Really like it though. So after this, I wanted to dye some fibers and see kind of what I could do. So what I did was I took 2 different colors of, I think this was comb top. So this is 50-50 comb top that I have. I did a natural white. Yeah, I did a natural white, and then I did the light rose gray that I had used in the skein I just showed you. And I dyed them with Kool-Aid. Forgive the rustling here. I dyed them with Kool-Aid. And first what I did in dyeing them is I put them into a crochet braid. The comb top I put into a crochet braid. And I did this because I wanted a slight variation of color to where there was a stronger saturation on the outside of the braid crochet chain versus the inside. I wanted that along with, the two colors. There's a slight variation. And I was experimenting. I just kind of wanted to see what result I would get. So here are the two colors after they've been dyed and dried. And then each color I spun up as a ply and I plied them together. And this is what I have. Super fun. And because I have not washed it yet, it still smells like Kool-Aid. Kind of grape, berry, kind of blend of stuff. But yeah, if you are wanting to dye your own fiber, Kool-Aid is a good way to start because the citric acid is already in the mix, and it's very easy to do. And there's a lot of videos on YouTube that kind of tell you how to do all that. Okay, then the next thing I wanted to try was chain plying. And some of you might know this as Navajo plying, because up until this point I'd just been doing 2-ply. Well, I want to try a 3-ply, but doing it with making it from the chain. And this is my final result with that. So this one is a 3-ply. What is that little? Oh, see, that's even a little. I'm still working at it. These are my tie. This here is my tie. What I did find is that this is pretty tight. Again, I haven't washed it, so I'm not making my final assessment until that's done. But it feels rougher than this other yarn, and it's the same fiber as this. These are the same fibers, but I overspun this, basically. I think I overspun it, and we'll see. Once I wash it up, we'll see how it ends up. It might be just fine. I did overspin because there are these little blurbs in here. Oop, blubs. There. See, like that. I have them here, a few of them. Okay, this one's not so bad, but they're in here. You already saw this one. Yeah. And up in here, I just see how. But I'm learning. This is all an experiment. And then my current experiment is fractal spinning. And I've taken many pictures and even a video about how I've done that. So when I finish that one, I'll kind of go into what fractal spinning is and how I did it for mine. But I will show you the roving or comb top braid that I started with, just to give you an idea of what I'm working on. So when it comes to acquisitions, besides what I have here in the store, I have bought a few things. What I have here to show you is some things from Created by LCB. If you're a spinner, you really need to go check out her stuff because the things she dyes up is absolutely beautiful. I first learned of Created by LCB when Allison of the Lofty Loops Yarns and the Lofty Loops podcast posted on Instagram something that she was spinning up, and the colors were, oh my gosh, I wish I could have gotten it. It was a one-of-a-kind colorway. And so from there, I went to Created by LCB's website, which she has an Etsy shop. Loved everything. Started favoriting so many things. And so she was on my radar for wanting to buy stuff. And I have placed one order from her so far. This one here is Targi. And I wanted to try Targi. I have not yet. yes, I have plans for Target in my own yarns. I've already talked to Sally at the Shepherd's Mill that we're working on something with that. But yeah, I just wanted to experience spinning up Target. So that's what this is. This is Meadows and Mist. I don't know if you can, I don't really want to take it out of the bag, but it's some grays, light blues, different shades of greens. Meadows and Mist. So you could just think of that. 23 micron wool. It's a repeatable colorway, so if you do like that, you could get that on your own. This one here is Organic Polworth. This is called Truffle, and it's just like a rich brown, which I just wanted to try that. Again, I got these two because I have not spun with either of these types of fibers before, and I just wanted to try them out. This one here is 22 micron. Yeah, so that's it for those things. I do have some other things at home. In the next podcast, I'll show you. I was a part of Fiber Share this fall, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's like a fiber swap. You get paired with people that one person you send to, another person sends to you. You fill out this you answer a bunch of questions about things you like and fiber types and forms and all this kind of stuff. And you can sign up with a number of different fiber arts things, even things like embroidery. And anyway, besides crochet and knit and spinning, there's a bunch of other things too. Sorry if there's a vehicle making a lot of noise. There's a loud truck that just pulled up because my store is next to the City of Alma office building, and people go to pay their bills and different stuff related to the city. And so sometimes we get noisy vehicles. Okay, so next time I'll show you what I received from my Fiber Share. Totally forgot to bring that this time. When it comes to knitting things, okay, so what's been going on is since I have the store, I've had to create samples, right? And I don't have sample makers yet. That would be really awesome. If you want to be a sample maker, let me know. But so I've been working on samples for the store. Let's see. So knit-wise, this is the last thing I've done. Totally forget the pattern. This is made out of the Shepherd's Mill Frost Gradient Fall Foliage, and the gradient goes from their cherry cordial to the honey wheat. And this is heavily cherry cordial. There's a little bit of honey wheat in it at one of the corners, but it's a beautiful shawl. Oh my goodness. It turned out so, so nice. And of course it took me forever to make because I take forever to make stuff. I can't tell you how many stitch and spins I sat down and worked on this project. Many, many weeks. Anyway, on top of everything else, this over here is a scarf. There you go. With, I do have okay. Blue Sky Fibers, their American Scenic line. I carry that. The City of Alma garbage truck in the middle of the street. Okay, so I carry that line because it is American fiber that was milled at the Shepherd's Mill in Kansas. This mill I've been talking about. So I have a Blue Sky Fibers account just so I can get that American Scenic line. And this is, sorry, it's like backwards from like real life. So this is one color and this is another color. I had started doing a cowl that Blue Sky Fibers released a pattern to go with this line and used all 4 colors in the line. All 4 colorways, but to buy all 4 colors was really expensive for my area. There's certain parts of the country where spending $120 on yarn for a cowl is like nothing. Here, that's not the case, and I had to be mindful of that. So I started this as the cowl in the pattern and then changed my mind. So I did one skein of, I don't remember what this color is, I'll write it down here, and then went to another skein and just did that one, and that's it. But it's kind of boring. It's kind of, I don't know, it's a double seed stitch that I just did, like it's not really a pattern. And I like the pattern, like how it looks, but I'm kind of bored with the scarf itself. And so I do have a pattern in mind that I'm just like creating, I've been thinking about. So I'm gonna take that out and I'm gonna redo it. Let's see, it's modeled on top of a green Butterfield Alpaca Ranch t-shirt, which I have a few of those in the store too if you're interested in a shirt with my logo on it. Yeah, what else? Yeah, those are the latest projects. And do I have, I have socks. I'm knitting socks for a sock class. I was like, what's on my needles now? Socks. Yeah, so I'll show you that in the next podcast too. I'm knitting up a sock on worsted weight yarn for a sock class that begins next Monday. So I'm doing each section of the sock in a different color to show, you know, the different parts of a sock. I also have fall socks that I started and have been just pushed to the side for all these other projects. And I have a really simple knit scarf that I'm doing as a sample for my beginning knitting class to show the beginning knitters what they can make, what they would be able to make after the class. All those things are at home. Totally forgot to bring any of those with me today. Like I said, I'll show you in the future. So now let's go on to crochet. And what I have for crochet samples, I've done hats. Here we go. Red and white crochet hat. Let me just go get it. All right, so here's the crochet hat that I did. This is out of the Brown Sheep Lanaloft, which is all of these here. It is like one of my favorite worsted weight yarns. I love single ply yarns. And so, yeah, I have all that. So this is the red. I don't know. I'll write the colorways here because I don't remember what they call theirs. This one is white. I think it's like a something cottage, a white cottage. I don't remember. But I did this because, for those of you who don't know, I'm in Husker country, Nebraska Cornhuskers. See, Nebraska does not have a professional football team. So the whole state rallies behind our university football team. And anyway, if you follow college sports, we won't talk about how the Huskers are doing this year. But regardless, people are like Husker crazy around here. So anything red and white, big hit. And that was the idea behind this. And I did this really oversized pom-pom to put on top of it, which I think will work good when it's actually in someone's head. But when it's on this mannequin, it's too heavy, and I have trouble with it being imbalanced, and it'll fall over often. So when I have it on that shelf, I have this resting up against the grid in the back to stabilize it a bit. Okay, so this is one hat that I did. Let me show you another one that's sitting out here. Okay, here it is. I love black and white together. So when I was coming up with samples for this, this is what I decided to do. This one, I think these are both double crochet hats. That other one, the red and white one, is definitely double crochet. This might be half double. I don't quite remember what I did. I think it's a half double. So, I started at the top, of course, and I did what looks to be 3 rows black, 3 rows white, 3 black, 3 white, 2 black, 2 white, and then 2 black. here. Yeah, that's what I did. And of course a black and white pom-pom, and this one is smaller than the other one, and it's more appropriate for this. The latest crochet project that I was doing is this shawl, no, scarf, what is it called? Cloudburst Shawl. So I can just show you the front here. That's what they show it looking like, and it's by, it says Tuesday Fortnight. And I got off, well, it's on Ravelry. You can find it there for sure. And it led me to the blog to be able to download it. Okay, so what I have so far is this. And what's left to do is blocking, in which this is going to be, blocking is definitely needed for this to open it up, and it is going to make it bigger. And then to add the fringy parts. Here, fringe. Can you see it well here? Fringe. So in the pattern, as you saw, they meant it to be one color, and I really liked this taupe and teal together. And initially I started off by holding the two colors together because this is like a super bulky yarn that it calls for. And what I decided to do was this right here is the brown sheep cotton fleece. It's an 80% cotton, 20% wool blend. And initially I wanted to come up with something to use that for besides like washcloths and stuff. So I decided to do a shawl that would be something you could wear, of course, in cooler weather, but also in warmer weather, so it wouldn't be like really hot. I just wanted a sample of something else you could do with cotton besides washcloths and that kind of thing. So that's how this came about. And this yarn is a DK weight, and I just held two together. And that's why I thought, well, let me just do the two colors held together. I started that out, and it looked, I didn't like the look at all. It was kind of muddled, and I just didn't really like it. So I did a lot of debating about how I'm going to do it. I liked the teal the best, so I started with that. My initial thought was, okay, maybe I can do every other row, alternating colors or something like that. But the way this pattern is written, it was hard to kind of figure it out to do that in terms of like where the ends ended up and that kind of thing. So I just started doing the teal. You start down at the point there. And so I just made teal, 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 teal. And it kept growing and growing. And then I decided, okay, well, let me just do a stripe of the taupe here in the middle. All right, so that's 3 rows of the taupe. And if you are following the pattern, let me tell you which rows I changed colors in. Rows 17, 18, and 19 of the body is where I changed to the second color. And then for the remaining rows, I went back to the teal. Okay, so my initial thought was that for the border, which is 3 rows, I would do the first one in the taupe and the last 2 in the teal. Well, what happened was I was running out of teal. Like seriously, after the body, I'll show you what I have. This is what's left. Now I started cutting for the fringe, but this is what's left. So I couldn't do that part of my plan. And because I was holding 2 strands together, this teal that you see is 2 skeins. And the taupe that you see is 1. I was talking before about trying to keep my samples affordable. Like, I don't want people to feel like they have to buy a whole bunch of, yeah, I'd like to sell a lot of yarn, but I mean, realistically, not everyone is going to be able to afford that. So I was just mindful of that even in this project. I had quite a bit of the taupe left, so I decided to just do the border in all taupe, and then I would do the fringe in the teal. I still would have preferred these 2 rows to be teal, but that's okay. Like I said, I did not want to pull out a 3rd skein of teal, which would be the 4th skein for the project. No. And as I'm going along, it was just this last week at Stitch and Spin, I'm playing yarn chicken with my shawl, and I lost. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches remained that I needed for the taupe. So sitting there, and we're all discussing about what I needed to do. So this was the solution. Finish that off with the teal. How many people are really going to know unless they're really looking once it's on you and stuff? And of course I had enough of the teal to do the fringe, and yeah, so that's what I'm doing here. But I think before I finish the fringe, I was just doing this because Stitch and Spin, there was still some time. I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and start this part. But the next thing I'm going to do is block this and then finish off the fringe. So I'm hoping with the teal fringe on the bottom, it'll really finish it up. And so I will show you the final result the next podcast, because I guess the model in the picture, she wears something like this. It's going to be bigger once I block it. Okay. Don't I look so fabulous? Okay, enough of that. Okay, the last crochet project I want to show you is the peppermint throw that I started last year. I think I've talked about this before. I think I've talked about it in other podcasts. I know that on Instagram I shared the yarn when I bought it. Okay, so I bought this yarn August or September of last year, and I meant to make this throw for Christmas. Let me get this pattern out for you. You know what? I'm just going to pop up a picture because the pattern I have is in black and white, and I wanted to show you what it's like in color because I think it's so striking. So yeah, I started doing these motifs. Here's one. And if I remember right, you need 27, 28 of these, which is the big ones. And then there's a bunch of smaller ones that kind of go, in between. And wow, I should have counted how many I have now. So yeah, obviously it did not get done for last Christmas. And so sometime this summer I pulled out again. I've kind of been doing it off and on when I wanted to do crochet and I was in between the knitting and all that stuff. So I have done a few more motifs of this, but I don't think it'll be done for this Christmas either. And I've decided that it's just going to be a Christmas project, and I do a little bit of it at a time as I can, when I get the bug to do it. And one of these Christmases, it will be done. But I really like it. I'm very excited to see it finished. I love peppermint, and my Christmas tree has peppermint ornaments. Like red and white is my color theme for Christmas every year. So obviously that's why I chose this to kind of go with that. But I really like it, and I'm really excited to have the throw when it's finished. And I don't mind that it's going to take a while because I enjoy making these. Whew, okay, so that is it for all of my fiber art stuff. Again, if you have not subscribed already to the podcast or to the channel, go ahead and do that and hit the bell so that you know when new videos are released. YouTube will immediately tell you. Also, remember to go to my Ko-fi page if you enjoy these videos, you appreciate them, and you feel inclined to financially contribute to the channel. That is a way that you can do that. And share this podcast with those who love alpacas and, of course, the fiber arts. And I will see you on the next video.